Hey everyone, this is Ian, and in this video I'm going to give you guys the basic ideas of functional programming. So functional programming is basically a way of doing programming where you write functions to do specific things, and the functions have to be pure. So what is a pure function? Well, basically it's a function that cannot have side effects and it cannot change data. So let's say you write a program where you're changing the value of a variable. So if a function changes the value of a variable, that function is not pure. And another thing I mentioned is that a pure function cannot have side effects. So what a side effect is basically changing the state of anything. So if I write to the screen or read something from the user, take input from the user, is a side effect, because when I write to the screen, I'm changing the state of the output data stream, and when I'm taking input, I'm changing the state of the input data stream. The same goes for reading and writing files. I'm changing the state of the disk, and this is what a pure function cannot do. So let me just give you a quick idea of writing impure functions and then turning them into pure functions. So I'm just going to write some Python programs, really simple ones, to just give you an idea of functional programming. So I'm just going to write a Python program that is going to just double a number. So I'm just going to take a number and just double it and just print it to the screen. So maybe I'll just make a function called double, and it will take a number, and what I'll do is that I'll just double the number and I'll just print the number to the screen. So I can just call the function and just pass a number, maybe 5, and I should just get 10 as an output. So I'm just going to go to the playground and just run the Python file, and I can see that I'm getting an output of 10, which is just what I expected. But this function is not pure. This is not functional programming. So the first thing is that I'm changing the value of the variable, which is not what a pure function can do. And second of all, I'm having side effects. I cannot print to the screen through a function, because what I'm doing is that this double function is actually changing the state of the output data stream, which is a side effect. This function double cannot have side effects. So what I can do is that I can take the side effects outside of the function. So the first thing that I should do is that I cannot change the variables. So maybe I should just create, if I want to use variables to store the value of the doubled number, I can just create a new variable and set it equal to the doubled number. So I can just make a new variable. Let's say doubled number is equal to number times 2, and then instead of printing, I can just return the doubled number, and instead of using the variable, I can just say number times 2, and this is an example of a pure function. So I can just call the function like before, but now I can have side effects outside this function. So this function is actually at the end of the day going to be pure. So I can just run the same Python script again, and you can see it's doing the same thing, but I used a different way of programming this. So another example would be to just say, let's say, print 10 numbers to the screen. I don't know, like maybe we can take a string and just append numbers from 0 to 9 10 times. I mean, just append 10 numbers to a string. So let me just call it 10 numbers, and I can just call the function 10 numbers, and it will just take a string, and it will just try to append 10 numbers to the string. So maybe I'll just start with 10 numbers, and I'll just start with a blank string. And what will happen is that, so I'm going to iterate 10 times, and every time in the iteration I'm just going to append the number to the string. So I cannot append an integer, so I'm just going to convert it to a string, and let me see what happens. So before I run this, I have to just print it out to the screen so I can see what is going on. And if I run it, 10 numbers.py, I can see that 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. I can see that the blank string was passed into this function, and this function actually appended numbers from 0 to 9 to the string. But this function is not pure. So what I mean is that in this function I'm just altering the value of the variable by appending it. And again, I'm having side effects because I'm outputting to the data stream, outputting via the data stream in this function. So to make it pure, I have to use recursion. I cannot also use loops here, because here you can see the value of the variable I is changing every time in the iteration. So I have to use recursion. So what I can do is that I can pass in a blank string, and I can pass it a value as the iterator. So let me just call it I. And what I'll do is that I'll stop when the iterator gets to the end, and which is 10. So when I is equal to 10, I'll just return the string. And for the rest of the steps, what I'm just going to do is that I'm just going to call the function itself, and I'm going to append I'm going to make a new string, and this new string is going to be equal to the old string and the value of the variable I appended to it, or I'll just say concatenated to it. So I'm just going to increase the value of I every time, and let me see what happens. So I'm just going to print this thing, and I'm getting none because I'm not returning this. So let me try again, and you can see that it's doing the same thing, but now my function is pure. So this is the basics of functional programming, and you can use recursion to avoid side effects and alteration of variables which is not permitted for a pure function. And this is it for this tutorial. I'm just going to see you guys in the next one.